Saturday, March 22nd, Peak Fighting is bringing the new era of combat sports back to Shawnee, Oklahoma. Witness explosive knockouts that will have you on the edge of your seat and show you why Peak Fighting is the fastest growing combat sports organization in the nation. Live from the Grand Casino Resort in Shawnee, Oklahoma, don't miss PFC 43. Tickets and pay-per-view are on sale now at www.peakfighting.com.
What up?
What's up, man?
Man, we're back in here, and
Sir.
we got a special guest today, man. I'm very excited. Looks like we're going to be chatting it up with Anthony Bodetti from We Want Picks.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about him before we bring him in.
Man, he's like a connoisseur on how to make money on betting on fights, man. So, no, he's a cool dude. They have their thing on YouTube, and, if you need help making your bets, those are the guys I'd listen to. It's We Want Picks on YouTube, and, they know what's going on, man. Pretty smart dudes.
Yeah, for sure. So, I guess let's, without further ado, let's just go ahead and bring him in and see what he has to say.
For sure.
So, what's up, Anthony?
Angelo,
I'm sorry.
Jesus, wow.
It's just some subtle racism right there.
Yeah.
That's fine. All Italians are exactly the same.
I know.
I get it.
Fucked up.
I'm Mexican, so if you want to call me like Mario or like something
Mario's
like that,
You're
Like
Jose. You're Jose
Yeah,
from here on
Jose.
out.
Jose, there you go, bro.
He's like Mario. That's like Italian.
Yeah, it could be both.
Well, what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Oh, not much, man. I'm excited. Excited to have you and get your expertise on some of this betting action. So why don't you just tell everyone kind of what you do and whatnot?
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to open with picks are not financial advice. These are fist fights. Anything can happen. It is absolute chaos. We've seen, well, first of all, it's chaotic because some people just show up, don't do what they're supposed to do. Other people show up injured. They don't tell anybody. They want the insurance. So betting on fights is crazy, but that's what we do. My buddy and I, we break down fights. We talk about how we think it's going to go. We have some fun doing it, and then we'll always try to find some betting spots, whether it's a prop bet, straight bet, whatever it is, see if we can make some money just to make the fights a little more enjoyable.
For sure, man. So do you guys now is your thing mainly, do you like betting on the fight straight up, or do you like some of the underdog stuff where it's like fight time, fantasy points, finishes, stuff like that? Do you guys cover any of that stuff for the underdog?
Yeah, we literally do all of it. You're talking about underdog fantasy.
Yes.
So we do that. We do prize picks. We do straight bets. And my buddy and I that I do the show with, we're a healthy balance. I'm a father. I've got kids. I used to manage professional fighters. I'm very level. I'm normal. So my betting style is pretty conservative. I'm usually picking who I think are the best fighters, and then I'll place those bets accordingly. Maybe a 2-leg parlay. My buddy is wild. So he's chasing huge, crazy, like second round submission plus 1,600 prop bets and doing that. So it's sort of a healthy balance of like, how much fun are you trying to have, or if you're just trying to make a few bucks.
Nice, man. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm an underdog guy. I'll do some underdog stuff, but I try not to bet on fights straight up. I try not to do that.
Underdog and prize picks are a ton of fun because it's daily fantasy. It's not gambling. You string a few together, you can make a couple bucks, and they'll give you some cool lines, and you just need a few of them to hit. So underdog, prize picks, those daily fantasy sports are pretty fun, especially it's an app on your phone.
So you're okay. So that's not gambling.
It's not. It's technically so gambling is not. I live in Texas. Gambling, sports betting and gambling in the state of Texas is not legal. It's not sanctioned. So when I place my bets, I have to go to an offshore sports book online, like a Bet Online or a Bet US, something like that. It's perfectly legal because they're offshore and they're regulated in that environment. But here, like to actually do something, all you can do is daily fantasy. That's what underdog is. That's what prize picks is. And the reason it's daily fantasy, like there's like legal loopholes, is because two of them, you have to do two for it to work. If it was just one, like if underdog let you do just the over under on strikes, that's gambling. As soon as it's two, now it's fantasy. Now there's strategy involved.
So that's how they screw me over.
That's how they get around. Yeah. They string you along.
Quick, we got a couple questions here. So Cody Williams, as a retired manager, what is a healthy percentage in today's market for a manager fee?
Yeah, so I started, I'm 41. I started managing professional fighters in like 2003 or 2004, and it was just dumb. I just like stumbled into it. I wrestled my whole life. Then I started training like jiu-jitsu and MMA just to train. And then a couple of guys in our gym, back in the early 2000s, there was no jiu-jitsu to stay in shape, right? Everybody there was there for a purpose, to be something else. So a lot of the people from the gym made it to the Ultimate Fighter, ended up doing something, and they came back to the gym after the Ultimate Fighter and were like, hey, I don't know how to get fights. I don't know how to get sponsors. Like, you're not dumb. Can you manage me? I was like, yeah, I'll figure this out. So in the beginning, I just did it, right? These are my friends at the gym. But then you start getting introduced, once you don't rob somebody, then they start telling other people like, hey, my buddy's honest. Like, he's not a scumbag.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it grows very quickly when you're not a scumbag.
It's weird. Yeah, you'd think, it's odd.
So then it was just word of mouth. So then I did start to charge people. I don't know you, you're a referral, whatever it is. And I, back in the early 2000s, was charging 10%. At the time, everybody else was charging 20%. So me doing 10 was like revolutionary. Now 10 seems to be the going rate for management fees. And it's like 10% of anything I find you. If you get your own sponsor, that's your money. Some of the contracts are crazy. Like I manage Nick Newell still. He hasn't fought in forever. The guy with one arm, made a movie about him.
Yeah,
he was on ESPN a bunch of times.
Good.
He, we did a lot of work with Ali Abdelaziz because we fought for him at World Series of Fighting, and Ali's a good dude. So he was like, I'll help you guys out. Like, I have the relationships. I'll help you out. So he sent over his standard contract and was like, whoa. And he was like, don't worry about that. Like, you guys are good. So some of the contracts are different. It's crazy. I feel like in today's market, 10% seems normal, but I know like American Top Team is 5%, and that's gym fees and management. So I think it's kind of all over the place. You were shaking your head. You've seen crazier numbers?
I've seen crazy numbers. I've seen 10. I've seen 20. I've seen 25, 30.
20's not.
Yeah.
In today's market, where there's solid, upstanding regional promotions like yourself, Reality Fighting in Connecticut, when there's like established regional promotions that have been around long enough to know they're not screwing anybody, you probably don't need a manager. And if you do have a manager, I would not sign some random 3-year deal because you're young and you don't know anything. That's not the world we live in anymore. A manager, once you get to the UFC, your manager is effectively useless unless he's getting you outside the cage sponsors. The UFC I don't manage fighters anymore because the UFC eliminated the need for managers.
But then they still do it. That's a great point. That's a fucking great point. I'm saying.
The only reason that, so now the managers in MMA are like regional guys either helping out their friends or taking advantage of people they don't know, or giant, massive organizations. The giant, massive organizations are doing more for you than just getting you fights, because you don't get to dictate to the UFC who you're fighting or when. Sponsors don't exist in the cage anymore. So it's only outside the cage sponsorships and appearances. And then in the UFC, if you end up getting that far, you have no say. Now, if you're in the PFL, get yourself a manager, right? Because you can have sponsors and there is some negotiating power there. So it really just depends on where you're going, but there's zero reason to ever sign some crazy long deal that exists in perpetuity. Some of these deals are, if I get you this sponsor and 10 years from now they're still paying you, I get to keep that money forever. It's like, all right, come on.
I love it. I love this guy. This.
I mean, I'm sure you've seen some seedy, shady nonsense, right? On that side of it.
I've seen, so much of it. And then I'm like, what the fuck? Or I'll have a guy's like bugging us to get a fight, and then he gets a fight and all this stuff. And then he literally is like, here's my manager's number. It's like, what?
You just did all the work.
Yeah.
Well, why are you paying this guy?
It's crazy.
Now, I will say managing, because I managed fighters. I had a ton of Bellator guys. I'm from Connecticut, and Bellator would go to Mohegan Sun a couple times a year. So I had a ton of Bellator guys, a handful of UFC guys, and then some other people at various stages. What I will say is the lower level, like the newer they are into the sport, the more work it is for the manager, because they're constantly pulling out. They're fake hurt all the time. Dealing with medicals. In Connecticut, you needed a CAT scan. I don't know the Texas rules. You needed a CAT scan. You know how hard it is to get people CAT scans? So that type nonsense was a ton of work, but depending where you are, there's different levels of involvement for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there is. I mean, it depends. In Texas, over 36, you got to get all that crazy stuff. California, you got to get it. I mean, it just depends. But yeah, the medicals are brutal.
That was my biggest issue as a manager, was staying on top of them for medicals.
Oh,
because
yeah.
I need your blood work.
Yeah, no, bro. They're gonna wait till someone yells at them, or like it's like your fight's about to be off because your shit's not done. So they don't like that.
Exactly.
See some of the comments here. Cody Williams says if you're in the PFL, you need a full-blown attorney. It's crazy.
Cody Williams.
He's on one today.
He's on one. He is an attorney. Right. But yeah. So go ahead, Luis. You got any questions for Mr. Anthony that you call him?
Yeah.
Angelo,
Yeah. Anthony,
Sorry,
Giuseppe,
Angelo.
whatever Italian names you want to throw my way.
He's not gonna. I'm not gonna get to live this one down. So, man, I'm really interested. How did you get started with like your YouTube channel and all that? I mean, it seems to be doing really well. So, what made you decide to go the YouTube route and the streaming route?
Basically COVID. So obviously I told you I managed fighters forever. So I've been watching fights for a million years. In 2016, I had a blog, and it was wewantpicks.com. And I was playing DraftKings Fantasy, right? You build a lineup of fighters with a specific salary, just like fantasy football, and then you compete against other people. In 2016, they added UFC. So then I was just writing a blog about like, ooh, this will be my lineup. And I was doing it with my buddy. And then I had kids, and you kind of dies off, doesn't really go anywhere. But then COVID hit. UFC was the only sport back. I had already been watching every event ever, right? I've never missed an event. But once it was the only sport in the world, everybody's watching it. And more of my friends that didn't really care about UFC before all of a sudden care now. And now they join my DraftKings league with me. And now every Saturday we're playing each other, and like $20, nothing crazy. So then I was going to YouTube to do research, right? There's random fighters you've never heard of, especially during COVID when people were dropping like flies. So, there was people popping into the UFC just out of nowhere. So then I was going to YouTube to do research, and I stumbled across a couple of kids from Canada that were doing what I do now. And I was like, I could do this. So then I was talking to my buddy who I do the show with, and I was like, dude, we can do this. So then we just started doing it. And it took us, that was about 2021, 2022 maybe. And it took us a little while to get comfortable with it, right? You start with like a overly professional radio voice, and it feels like it has to be the news, like, well, this is how this fight's going to go. And then you just quickly realize like, okay, we need to, that's not who I am. Like, we need to have fun with this and just be normal. So then once we just let our personalities come out, we took off. Like the growth was crazy. And we've expanded, we've added some shows, we've added some segments. I'm adding a new show right when I'm done filming this. I'm filming a new show with Josh Thompson. You familiar with Josh Thompson, former Strikeforce world champion? Yeah. He lives right around the corner from me. So him and I are buddies in real life, and we're going to be filming a new show as well. So it just sort of snowballs where once you like take the time to do it and then get comfortable doing it, you just sort of develop your own sort of speaking cadence and personality and comfort level with it all. So we just did it because I was bored during COVID, and we turned it into a real business because there's no money in YouTube. I don't care what Mr. Beast tells you. There's zero money in YouTube whatsoever. So we figured out how to monetize what we do, and now it is a business, and it's how I feed my family.
Nice.
Yeah, that's really awesome, man. I can relate too, because when we first started doing our podcast, we tried to do it the same way, real professional and all that. And then we just started, we just took the chains off and said, let it eat, be ourselves, and even as like the promotion as a whole, we would try to do things the right way. And then we just finally said, let's just be ourselves. And our personality started to show, and it seems to get a lot more traction that way versus what you're used to seeing on ESPN and all that other stuff. I think people like the real aspect of everything.
Oh, for sure.
100%. That's the only thing that separates you too. We're in a weird space. We want picks, because there was only these two Canadian dudes and then a couple of like monotone kids reading a spreadsheet. That was the entire YouTube MMA pick world, right? There's other YouTube personalities like MMA Guru and stuff, but that's not who I'm competing against, right? He's doing entertainment videos and stuff like that. I'm doing full breakdowns. So when we showed up and we weren't just using Tapology in the background, and we did the extra work to do the custom graphics, and we started being funny and busting balls and all of that, it blew up. And then we created this world where now everybody, like you can't search a fight on YouTube without 38 different people with Tapology in the background trying to break it down. So now the only thing that separates you, in the beginning, you just had to be there and you would do well. Now what separates you is who you are as a person, your personality, your delivery, all of that. So we really lean into that. And I'll never forget the switch was we were breaking down Alonzo Menifield, who fights this weekend.
Yeah.
And what the hell's his name? Alonzo Menifield and William Knight. Both gigantic, large black men that are jacked out of their minds, whatever. And at the time, my buddy who I do the show with is the one who does the graphics for us. And I did the breakdown of the fight. Then he started saying who he thought was going to win. And at this point, we're still very professional. And then he was like, guys, when I was doing this graphic, I started to get hot and sweaty. I had to stand up. I had to take a cold shower. I had to watch where my hands were going, like just joking that like these are like some of the best looking men on the planet. And that piece, like we were dying laughing, like everybody was watching, loved it. And that's when we were like, all right, like let's just do more of that. Let's just be who we are as people. And that's when it like completely turned to like, it's okay to get a pick wrong. These are fist fights. Let's just have some fun. And that's when we started to grow. It's not without hate though. You get a pick wrong and you're like the worst person. You would have thought I like kicked your grandmother in the mouth. Like the hate that we get after a bad pick is nuts. It's a wild space.
I fucking believe it. I couldn't imagine. Bad. So you picked one wrong already for this week.
I'm going Menifield, man.
You first of all, one wrong. So
yeah, hopefully I bet on Menifield, so not hopefully, but I mean he's from Connecticut, so I got to root for Connecticut. I'm from Connecticut, so you know he's from New Haven, so all right, let's go New Haven. My big thing breaking down that fight was like this dude only has 6 fights. He has only been fighting for 2 years. This is like the jump up here is nuts. That doesn't mean he can't win, and I'm giving Alonzo Menifield a lot of credit, but the jump up is crazy, and that's really where I'm leaning. I'm just leaning straight experience in that fight.
Okay, so that's all you're going off of. I like you got to go off something, right?
There's not enough tape on Luis to do a real breakdown. There's literally just not enough tape. So all I can go off is what I know from Alonzo and the amount of minutes they've spent fighting other people.
For sure. That is true. But we're about to release that to the place that pays the most. YouTube.
Yeah, too late for Julius. I keep saying Luis. See what you did to me?
Yeah.
I deserve it, bro, honestly.
The thing is, though, like, so, yeah, why don't you tell people a little more about that YouTube comment you made earlier? Because I think a lot of people...
The hate?
No, the... money you're not getting.
There's no money. Oh yeah, there's no money in YouTube.
People think it's not true.
Yeah, so it's the barrier to entry to make a YouTube channel is literally nothing, right? You go to youtube.com and you name your channel and boom, you're ready to go. You can't live stream until you've had a certain amount of subscribers, things like that. But the barrier to entry is super easy. And because the barrier to entry is easy, making money is not. So there's only a few ways to make money on YouTube. One is straight up ads. But you have to be around for a little bit to make ads. But ad money, let me pull up my stats right now so you guys can get a view into this. I'm not going to show them, but I'll talk about them.
Let's not show them. Let's not show them. Because then
we did in the last 28 days, we did 400,000 unique views.
Yep.
So 400,000 views. We do have ads. We don't do mid-roll ads. So we're not just bombarding people with ads. It's just to open the video and that's it. 400,000 unique views. What would you assume? And
I know.
Sorry, let me back. There's ads and then super chats. Like you guys just got a super chat here from John. Yeah. That's a couple of bucks. You get what, 70% of it or 60%? YouTube keeps the rest.
Yeah, they keep 30.
So, but
no, they keep.
You only. Wait, who gets 30?
Yeah.
No, I think they take 30%.
No,
right?
they take like way more than that.
Oh, really?
It's a massive chunk.
Yeah, super chats. They take like what, 80%?
It's a giant number for sure. Yeah. So we did 400,000 unique views. We get a bunch of super chats, and we have ads. What would you guess we made from YouTube alone?
In a month?
One rolling 28, a month.
Maybe from not super chats, but ads, because I don't know.
No, it includes. Well, actually, hold on. Let me see.
Because I don't want to say like I don't know how many super chats you get, but I would say like
I can break. Hold on. Let me see.
500, $600 for 400,000 views.
Let me see if I can. Here's the revenue breakdown. Is he going to break it down between ads and super chats?
It probably won't.
Oh, here we go. Oh, maybe not. Well, anyway, it's $1,500 is what we made for everything. Ads, super chats, everything in a month.
Yeah. So.
And it's like, wow, $1,500. And that is great money. But we put, the combined 40 hours a week each into it. So
it's tough. You got to have some other form of covering you.
And that's what we did. The reason we were able to turn it into a real business because I quickly, like, gambling's a weird space now. We a few years ago would get random YouTube strikes and penalties for gambling content. Really? And they would just take your video down or strike it and things like that. So I was like, we are too reliant on YouTube and their random policies that could just change tomorrow. This is crazy. So then I said, we need to build our own membership. Forget the YouTube membership. We got to build our own. So we built WeWantPicks.com, and that is our full service, like anything you could ever need heading into a fight week. And I said, we're going to make it $10. It's going to stay $10 forever. And we're going to go the Costco model, like high quality product, great price. Don't touch it, right? The $1.50 hot dog at Costco. It's been $1.50 for 40 years. And we're just sticking with that. And that is how we're able to feed our families, is that membership. Yeah. Because YouTube, no money in YouTube.
None. Nada.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So
it is rough. People think, oh my God. I mean, I could tell you what 1 million views gets you. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, are there other forms of social media and stuff like that? Do you guys clip your podcast and then put it on TikTok and things like that as well?
Kind of. We're notoriously horrible at that. So last night, we do our live shows on Tuesday nights. Last night we filmed for 2 hours, 15 minutes, something like that. There was a bunch of hilarious moments in that show. It was it just felt like a great show. Some are better than others. That one felt amazing. We have zero shorts that we took out of that. And we need to, because we should be spamming Instagram and TikTok and YouTube shorts. But I there's not enough time in the day for me or for Jacob. And then we have an editor, but he only edits my long form stuff, and he's lazy as shit. So getting them to do that in any timely manner is tough. So it's that piece is hard.
Taya Barr said you loved him earlier, and then all of a sudden he said he's mad because we got you on here first instead of a fighter. I don't know what that means. We've had fighters on here before. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the cow skull kid?
Yeah, he's really emotional sometimes.
They all are. Fighters are by far the most sensitive, and this is a generalization, and they're all going to come for me. And this
is the truth. This is what you're about to say is dead fucking accurate.
They're all so sensitive and so insecure. It's crazy. It is crazy. Yeah, for people who make a living trying to be the baddest person on the planet. The sensitivity is wild. And I get why you're weight cutting, but it's outside of that too. There's you know how many random, if I find you, I'm going to beat the shit out of you type things we get from fighters, breaking them down. UFC level fighters. Ugly Joe, he's in here in Dallas. My buddy broke him down. Yeah. My buddy broke him down. My buddy's like, listen, he's not great. It is what it is. And he was on Twitter publicly, if I find you, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Better not catch me, whatever. And my buddy printed out the tweet, put on a hat, and just wears the hat and streams now. But that stuff happens a lot. A surprising amount. It's dude, I would hope you'd be. First of all, he is a 5'8" ginger. I hope you can smack him around. I'm a different story because I've at least wrestled my entire life. But it's of course, what do you don't see NBA players threatening to beat the hell out of Skip Bayless. It is what it is. Just relax.
Bro, that's just funny though. I mean, that's crazy though. How okay, prove me wrong. I guess is my thing. Is just prove me wrong.
Yeah, 100%. And there is some of that. And what is funny is we'll build as much as the sensitivity will get the best of them for when we pick against them. It goes the other way as well. Yusuf Zalal is a great friend of the show. 2 wins ago, not the Calvin Cater win, but the win before that. He got on the microphone. He blew it. Instead of saying we want picks, he said we pick them. But he got on the microphone. He's like, shout out to Jacob for we pick them. And it's just because we talked really well about him. My buddy Jacob is the one in the live chat right now saying I walked into this show and I was called a 5'8" ginger. So that is, he's the one that Ugly Man Joe
he's
threatened.
Over there. What's
So
up,
he's
boss? Yeah,
he's the one that Ugly Man Joe threatened. But he built like a meaningful relationship with Yusuf Zalal because he put together like a highlight reel and like, you know, gassed him up like this guy is great. And I was dead wrong because when Yusuf came back to the UFC, I'm like, he's getting smoked. And then Jacob's like, absolutely not. And so then you end up building like meaningful relationships with people in the space because the non-sensitive ones understand what it is and have a good time with you and stuff like that. But fighters by and large are the most sensitive people on this planet.
I agree 100%. You must not have had the insights that I got handed to me for his last fight. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, for Yusuf?
Yeah, I was like, really? Thanks for the tip. Great.
Yeah, our whole thing was, I mean, I knew Yusuf was going to win. I was all over him. I put him in what I call a safety parlay. I thought he would grapple, though, and he didn't need to. He was just that much faster.
Yeah.
Third round was a bit like, okay, you're running, but it is what it is. You're up 2 rounds. It is. What is he supposed to do? Stand there and get knocked out? Like,
we have
he's
some
up 2
guys
rounds.
that fight like that. So,
I mean, that's the unfortunate reality of the sport.
but hey, it's okay. I mean, it's okay. I'm okay with it. I'm not mad about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I wanted to go back on the Julius Walker fight you were talking about. And I know you said that you're betting against Juicebox on this one. Do you think the age will play a factor in this at all?
It could, and Jacob, who's in the live chat, who I do my stream with, he picked Julius, so he's on the other side.
Boy,
We're
Jacob.
split. Yeah, we're split here. I think age could play a factor, and the narrative is Alonzo Menifield's been knocked out 2 times in a row, like he's old, he's washed, whatever. But he got knocked out by Carlos Ulberg, who in all reality could be fighting for a title in his next fight, and then Azamat Murzakanov, who no bum. So you kind of got to look at that, be like, yes, he's 36. Yes, he was just knocked out, but like, you know, look who knocked him out. The only reason I really went in on Alonzo Menifield is at the time he was a minus 140 favorite, which are decent odds. And Julius, like, what I've seen looks pretty good, but like, there's like 12 minutes. Like, let's think about this. You're a professional fighter. That is your job, right? To go out there and be a professional fighter. He has only ever been to work 6 times. 6 times. He's only ever been to work. He's only done his job at work for like 15 minutes. I can't possibly take that person and be like, yeah, short notice, step up, biggest fight of his entire life against an absolute monster. He's going to steamroll him. I just can't.
Yeah, and they're main card too, I believe, too.
Main card.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm rooting for, listen, Connecticut. I'll always root for Connecticut. Lots of good fighters. Glover. He's a Brazilian, obviously, but I've known Glover for 30-something years from Connecticut. Not 30, 20. But from Connecticut. So I'll root for Connecticut, but sometimes you just see a line, you're like, oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I agree with you. I mean, it's a tough task. I mean, it's I'm sure you've picked against our guys all the time. I mean, not by choice, but by knowledge. So I'm not mad.
Well, and I didn't even realize until I started doing the research, and I was like, oh, his last fight was in the PFC. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then, we had Xavier Franklin go up to Contender Series. I'm sure you picked against him.
I don't break down Contender Series.
Oh, you don't?
It does. Contender Series is so much work, and it's so chaotic. Predicting Contender Series outcomes is nuts. We have somebody else that'll do those for us. Jacob does them sometimes. I won't. I don't really do the Contender Series stuff, but.
Yeah, Cody Williams on the UFC Seattle card. He got called up last minute, make 205. I don't know. It's a daunting task, but he's up for it. So he.
Why? What does he normally weigh? Is he bigger than that?
No, he. Well, I think so. We actually. So the truth behind all this is, we had a last minute replacement on that fight he fought on. He wasn't even, supposed to fight. He made 205, but then he was supposed to take a fight at heavyweight. So he wasn't even really looking to fight at 205 for this fight in Seattle. So that's kind of could be the issue, but I don't think it'll be an issue.
Yeah, because he's big, like he's tall, but he's not like thick.
Yeah, no, he's not thick. But he did get clipped a little bit in his last fight with us. He
in
got
the
rocked.
he got hit, but he recovered from it well. You know, got the takedown and finished up his fight by ground and pound. Which, if you look at all of his other fights, that's usually how he tends to go. He tends to finish his fights via ground and pound. So, interesting to see if he's going to do that this time. But so in this industry, we meet a lot of fighters and we get to know them on an emotional level. How do you deal with, when you get to know these fighters, how do you deal with breaking emotion apart from your picks? Because it's not always going to be the right pick for you, and you may know this guy personally. So how do you go about that?
I mean, that's not easy to do. And Jacob does a much better job building real relationships than I do. Because he'll like actually spend time talking to people where I'm very Northeast, like, you know.
Yeah,
Okay, goodbye. Go live your life. I'll live mine.
Yeah, go fuck
but
off.
yeah, it's hard to not be biased, and it's funny because you will develop just inherent biases doing this. So obviously, you might have some previous relationships with people, but then you also get to know people doing this. You've broken them down in the past. Maybe we've had fighters on our show, like Jairzinho Rosenstruik came on the show live, interacted with us and the fans. So did Yusuf Zalal, Isaac Bulgarian, Adrian Yanez. And so you do like develop a rapport. Jacob will develop a real relationship. And then it is a little hard to next time they fight to be like, he's not going to win this fight. So that does become a little tricky, but you know, we just try to be self-aware enough to be like, this might be a biased pick. And then obviously if we pick somebody, but then don't bet on them, like that'll tell you what you need to know. Like, I'm picking the guy to win, but I'm not spending money here. It's like, okay, got it.
Oh, you guys do that.
I mean, because like you can't bet on every fight. That'd be crazy. And there are some fights where it's like, I'm going to pick this way because I want to, but like there's just no way I can spend this money.
Yeah, I see that for sure. I think that's the hardest part with me too, is like getting emotionally invested with certain fighters, even ours or the UFC. If I do bet on something, if I know them or I watch their fights and I like them, it does make it a little bit harder to place those bets, especially if you don't think it's a good fight for them. So I would have a hard time doing what you guys do for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it. I'd rather do what I do. And that's some people think that's hard and weird, but I was like, I couldn't do the betting thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So
it's funny because being a promoter, I own WeWantFights.com. And that's what I used when I was a manager. And then I was like, I wonder if we can dabble in promoting. And then I was like, no, that's a nightmare. Just dealing with all the sensitive fighters and like all their crazy family members and all the ridiculousness and everybody. Like I don't have the patience to do what I do now, let alone that.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't be on your side of the table.
No, it's annoying.
It's very hard not to be biased on certain things, you know, especially I do a lot of the promo work. So I go out and I spend time with these fighters, film their camps and stuff like that. So I build a relationship with them. And one of the hardest things that I've found is like, you film a promo, you really like this person on a personal level, and then they get knocked out or something, and it's like, oh man, but that's just the fight game. That's part of it, you know. Yeah. That's part of what they signed up for. So it is difficult, but it's possible.
It is, yeah.
The most frustrating thing is when you do your research, you pick a fighter, you do your breakdown based off of information you have at the time, and as you can tell, it's a snow day, so. These kids are hanging out in the hallway. Random Texas snow day, not a flake of snow, but it is a snow day.
Yeah, it's
but crazy. So you'll do all the breakdowns, the picks, and you'll do all of that, having watched all their previous tape, having known who they are as a fighter, and then they show up and just do the exact opposite. Like I picked and bet on Kevin Gisette a few weeks ago. Kevin Gisette, big dude, decent striker, very high-level judo practitioner. I bet on Rinya Nakamura a few months ago. Rinya Nakamura was a world-level wrestler, not like wrestled in high school a little bit, world-level wrestler, traveled the world wrestling, accomplished anything you could want to accomplish outside of an Olympic gold medal. In his fights, he used his wrestling in every single one of his fights. Then he goes out there in his last fight, after we've decided, like, this is my most confident pick on the card, doesn't shoot a single takedown, doesn't even try. And it's like, how could I have predicted that this guy would show up and just be an absolute idiot? Like, how could I? There has been no evidence whatsoever that this guy's a moron. And then he shows up, doesn't do what he's supposed to do, no game plan whatsoever, gets smoked, and now I'm the idiot? That is by far the most frustrating part of all of this, is like, you can't coach them, you can't fight for them, and sometimes they're just not going to do what they're supposed to do, and it is what it is. And you have no way of knowing that ahead of time.
You're right.
Yeah, that's
Reread
true.
that question.
Yeah, so we got a comment come in from A Wiggins 14 says, "How come people think fighters are sensitive for protecting their name when it's brought up in media? How did they make it look like they aren't sensitive?"
It's a tricky question because, like, people think I'm sensitive too. Like, if you come at me in the comments section, which happens very often, I usually respond. I just go right back at it. Like, I'm not built for the internet. I'm not built for, like, hey, who cares? But the fighters are sensitive, even if we remove social media from it. They're just sensitive in real life. Like, you ever try busting, like, hanging out with fighters and busting their balls? 50% can't take the joke. 50% can't. And it's just a different breed of human, because to have the confidence to go in a cage and fist fight somebody in maybe your underwear, maybe shorts, in front of your friends and family is not like, that takes a different type of human being to do that. And with those positives and with that extra level of confidence comes a whole nother level of, like, potential insecurities and not being able to take criticism, because what do you mean? I'm the baddest guy in the world. What do you mean? So it's just being around fighters forever, not just breaking down the YouTube channel when I was managing them forever. They're sensitive. And that's a generalization, right? Anytime you generalize any category of people, you're going to be wrong. But, like, if I took a bunch of bankers and a bunch of plumbers and a bunch of construction workers and then a bunch of fighters, the fighters are the most sensitive group in all of those groups in any setting you could ever have.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. On the contrary to that, Cody Williams says, "It's business. It's not personal. Can't take anything personally if they pick against you. Just prove them wrong. I mean, your heart can be in one place and your wallet in another place."
For sure.
100%. Well, that's this weekend. I love Henry Cejudo. I as a lifelong wrestler, I was a big Henry Cejudo fan long before his MMA career. So I love Henry Cejudo. I would love him to win this weekend. It's not going to happen. He's just older, slower. So it's just not going to happen. So heart and brain are in two different places there.
Maybe he worked his hands a ton in a fight camp and wanted to highlight KO to expedite his career, which is possible because you have to be entertaining but I don't know.
Sure, and that's what happened in Bo Nickal's last fight, right?
Yep.
Bo Nickal, lifelong wrestler, went out in his last fight, boring boxing. But my counterpoint with that would be Bo Nickal was winning the striking. So there was no reason to then wrestle, right? He was winning those striking exchanges. Things were going well. Rinya Nakamura, Kevin Gisette were not winning. You didn't win the first round. You didn't win the second round. And then you go into the third round, you don't change a single thing. You didn't use your lifelong wrestling to try to win you that fight. You didn't lose your lifelong judo to try to win that fight. You made no adjustments whatsoever. That's where it's frustrating. Try new things, sure. And if it's working, great. If it's not working, well, you got to go win this fight. Figure it out.
Yeah, you got to change something. You can't keep doing the same thing and hope for a different result. It's not going to work.
For sure.
My daughter's a fighter. She's not sensitive. Tammy Flanagan says, well, that's good.
And I would argue, and that's a valid point, because women fighters are far less sensitive than male fighters.
Yes, 100%.
That's not even
true.
close.
That is true.
Yeah. That's not even
statement.
close.
And I see where you're coming from. Trust me, I know if people saw what I dealt with, they would understand that your analogy is actually right.
Yeah, because I managed this woman, Mariana Kafetz. She was like going to be the next big thing. She smoked Randy Couture's wife in the XFC. Like she was doing great things. She's like highly educated, had a real job. So this was like kind of a hobby, and she was really good at it. She was the easiest person I managed. It wasn't even close. Like the easiest one on, like, no drama, no nonsense, never offended. A couple of contract things, but outside of that, like, she was so easy. So, and I have daughters, so I would agree that the female fighters are less sensitive than the male fighter. Although Miranda Maverick got all worked up when we said Jasmine Jazadavicius was going to take her down and smoke her. She got very upset at that.
Really?
Is what it is. She was very upset. And that tweet, like, she like quote tweeted us and was like, I forget what she said. I don't want to paraphrase and make it sound worse than it is, but she basically was like, these guys are idiots. And then she went out there and got taken down 15 times and just lost that fight. It is what it is. But, I get somebody talking about you. I get reacting that way, but
what was going to happen.
So I wonder if the reason the female fighters seem to be less sensitive is because they already, the females in the MMA have a lot to prove because there's not many of them. So I'm sure that, it takes a special kind of female to get in that cage, and do that. So I think that might be why we're seeing that there.
For sure.
100%. I have 2 daughters, and I'll tell you, they're more headstrong in good and bad than most of the boys their age. I mean, it's stubborn, headstrong, determined, like. Yeah, that may just be a gender thing as well. Like women are just, especially you deal with nonsense your whole life. That'll thicken your skin up a little bit.
Yeah, I bet. For sure.
No, for sure. I wish fighters would switch game plan more often when plan A doesn't work. Used to see that with GSP. Hardly anyone does that now. I agree with that.
Yeah, people don't seem to adjust very often, but there's also like every camp has their own methodology. Some camps we don't game plan, right? We just prepare for everything. Other camps are very game plan heavy. So everybody's always trying to reinvent the sport, but the reality is, one of I mentioned before, I'm filming a new show that we're adding to our channel after this. I'm filming it with Josh Thompson, obviously very accomplished in this sport. One of the topics that we're going to talk about, I don't know if it's this recording or another one, is does the fighter make the gym or does the gym make the fighter? And I'm going to talk to him he's from American Kickboxing Academy with Daniel Cormier, with all the Dagestanis. Like, that is his background. So I'm going to have a very real conversation. Like, okay, Josh, did Javier Mendez and that team make you as good as you are? Did you all make the gym as good as it was? Is it a hybrid? What does that look like? Because we're in a world now where, like, Fighting Nerds, for example, next big gym, everybody loves the Fighting Nerds, greatest gym in the world. But is it really that great of a gym, or is it just the core 5 people that started that gym were all very good and continue to be very good? So we'll have an interesting debate about that, and that goes back to fighters and their game plans and all that.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild topic. That'll
people are going to hate it too.
Oh, they're going to hate it for sure.
Feathers will be ruffled.
Yeah, you're going to – dude, that one's a crazy one because, man.
I'm going to argue fighters make the gym. Obviously, some coaches can have some influence, and obviously coaches will help fighters evolve, and they have a role. But if you take that same fighter and put him in any other gym, I assume they'll have the same amount of success. And look at the gyms where fighters don't evolve. Look at Israel Adesanya. Has that guy evolved? No. He was way ahead of everybody else in this sport, and then everybody else caught up to him. And you can't say that his gym made him who he is. He made the gym.
There's a fucking prime example right now of a guy in the UFC. I fucking swear. He's a lower level guy, but there's 100% prime example. I'd say, but like if this kid would have went to a different place, I think he would be having much more success.
Because of the training partners.
Yes.
Yeah.
But man, you can't say anything to these guys.
No, and I get loyalty too, especially if a gym helped build you. And then some coaches, I say fighters are sensitive, so are coaches.
Yes.
So some coaches don't have the self-confidence or the ability to say, hey, listen, you need to cross-train. You need to go train somewhere else. Or I can't get you this far with striking or wrestling. Go find, go to this other gym. It's okay. Whatever. So, because a lot of that needs to happen too. We're just assuming that this coach knows every single skill that you need? No, of course not.
I mean, Cody has some things. It's a little both in his opinion. Iron sharpens iron. You need some dogs, but some pure athletes need a coach that can lead them to bigger things, better technique, which is true. But are you gonna? I
100%.
mean, you're probably talking like big gyms, correct?
Yeah, I'm not saying people don't need coaches. Yeah. I'm saying the gyms are what they are because of the fighters, not the other way around. Show me a gym where you had 5 homegrown, knew nothing, you turned them into UFC level fighters. You'll get one maybe, and it's their talent that got them there, but show me a gym that's done that consistently, time and time again through multiple generations. No, you build one guy. Hopefully other people come. If they don't, that guy goes somewhere else. And now that other gym just got better because they have got a good guy.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Because if they don't come, that guy's got to go. Or he's fucked.
Because he's not going to evolve.
Yeah.
Correct. And I come from a wrestling background. I wrestled my whole life. I coached wrestling forever. We started a youth program in my town in Connecticut. you either wrestled in high school or nothing. Like there was no youth program. And the neighboring town, Danbury, had a youth program. And Danbury was like 38 years in a row, undefeated in the state in dual meets, won the state championships 38 years in a row. Maybe it was 26, some ridiculous generational number. And we started a youth program. Me, one of the other kids who was in middle school, his father came to me and said, we need to start a youth program. Like, we'll never be good. So we started a youth program. And now here we are 15, 20 years later from starting that youth program. And our town has won like 3 of the last 10 state championships. We've produced national champions, college champions, and it's all because they built those wrestlers from zero. These are town kids. It's not a club. It's technically a club, but there's not out of towners. These are town kids that built a program from zero. I can't find that in MMA gyms nowadays. Back in the day, Greg Jackson did that.
Yeah.
Yes. American Top Team did that. Yes. Now that doesn't exist anymore. Now they're just power gyms. It's what everybody hated the Miami Heat for when LeBron went there. Now that's what's happening in MMA. People are good. They just go to the big gym, and now the big gym is the greatest gym in the world. But it's just the good fighters are all going there. They didn't build these people.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that.
I agree with that too.
And then it's that way that's crazy. Bang Tao, yeah, that's a big gym. We got a guy, what's his name is going there. A couple of our guys are headed there, and we got a guy out of there. But my thing is like, okay, so you talking about that? I mean, it's crazy, bro.
Oh, and this is the topics him and I are going to talk about are specifically designed to get people all worked up. So I imagine people are going to completely disagree and be annoyed at the take. And I mean, that's why we love the sport, though. I'm not right or wrong. Like, it's just an opinion, and everybody can argue any side they want.
Yeah, no one's right or wrong by any means, but still, at the end of the day, it's going to be great because I mean, it's a legit thing. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, Cody Williams is saying in this generation of the sport for sure. Earlier generations, maybe they were some of those gyms that made fighters situations, but not so much nowadays. He's agreeing with your point on that.
Yeah, when the sport was nothing, you had to build fighters. There was no power. You literally had to build people from scratch. So completely agree. That's what the Gracies, all the new UFC fans don't realize that the UFC was one big infomercial for Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. That's literally what it was. Yep. The UFC was not a sport. The UFC were the Gracies came to America trying to take over karate for like the national martial art, essentially. And they said, the only way we're going to do this is we buy airtime and show the world that jiu-jitsu is the best martial arts. So that's what they did. It was a literal infomercial. And they called up, give me your best boxer, give me your best wrestler. And then they looked at the whole Gracie family and they're like, this one's too good looking, this one's in shape, this one, whatever, that one. We want the skinny, like dweeby looking, scrawny one. And that was Royce Gracie. And he went out there, did what he did, and then it became a sport. But it started as an infomercial. So, yeah, back in the day when MMA wasn't a thing or not nearly as big as it is now, you had to build your fighters. There was no such thing as cross-training. So, yeah, 100% then. Now, it's a different world now. Just like, your kid plays baseball, just like kids desperate to be on X team, not because of the coaches, because of the other players and what that team name means. And it's the same thing happening in MMA. I need to go to American Top Team so I can say American Top Team. They didn't build you.
You have people at these gyms. I mean, I know one, I'm not going to say, but you'll have fucking people at this gyms living at the gym. They don't even fucking train. They just sit there, take pictures. I'm training at so-and-so. No, bitch, you don't train. You don't do shit. You're just there.
Yeah.
You pay rent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something we run into quite often with especially some of the amateurs. It's weird, man. You got a lot of social media fighters out here. They want to get on a fight poster and then promote it and all that, but then never actually fight. So it's kind of a weird thing how social media is taking all this MMA and it's all kind of coming together. And you kind of see who's a real fighter and who's in it for just like the clout,
Yeah, we had.
I imagine the amateur MMA is the worst too because
I don't know.
They haven't even done it yet. So it's the nerves and everything else. It's a lot easier for them to pull out.
Yeah, some of them's fine, and our amateur roster is pretty decent. So it's decent as in like we don't have to deal with that anymore. But like, someone sent me over this person to fight, and I was like, "What? She want a poster again? Like she just wants on a poster? Is that what we're doing? No, she's good. She's good to go now." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Or like they do that and some just to hustle sponsors. You know, they'll get on there, sponsor me. I got a fight coming up, and then boom, another pullout.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a tricky sport because I imagine you guys make most of your money from ticket sales, right? And then what, some ads and stuff like that?
Ticket sales, pay-per-view sponsorship, TV, you know, stuff like that.
Way at the bottom, you got YouTube.
Yeah, way at the bottom, you got YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, you just got some of that stuff trickles in and helps, but you know, your main thing is like sponsorships, ticket sales, and then obviously the pay-per-views and TV stuff. So
sure. Yeah, I mean it makes sense, and so then you do have to deal with the who's more popular, who's going to sell more tickets. Like when I was dealing with reality fighting and even Bellator operated like a small and large show.
Yep.
Their undercard was a regional show, so it's like, Angela, how many tickets can they sell?
Yep.
And then the main card was very different. So, you know, I knew that world. And then luckily, you know, sometimes you get a fighter that will sell 300 tickets. So it's like, you know, you need this kid. He's gonna put some people in the seats. So it's a tricky game. So when you're dealing with amateur people that promise they can sell tickets, but they're unproven, and I imagine it's chaotic.
It is, and a lot of these guys are like, "I'm a fighter. I don't do that." I was like, "Okay, well, don't fight for us."
I'm a promoter. I got to pay the bills.
They don't get it. They just think they see all this nice stuff, and they think you're just making millions of dollars, and you're not. And it's crazy, and they want this, they want that. It's just wild, bro.
Yeah, and that kind of takes me back to what I was saying earlier about the social media fighters, and the opposite of that, actually. Like, there's a lot of guys who might be 7-0, 9-0, and you're just on a tear with their MMA career, but then crickets online, or like maybe they're just getting decision wins every time and stuff like that. And then it kind of hinders you from going to that next level, because that's the unfortunate reality of where we're at. You know, the UFC and these larger organizations, not only do they want to see an exciting fighter, but it doesn't hurt you to have a good following or have a good social media presence. You know, it's kind of the times are evolving with that too.
Yeah, and it's funny because I don't do that well at all. Like Jacob does that really well. Without Jacob, We Want Picks isn't what it is. Like I'm the more business minded one, and like my personality obviously works in certain regards. But Jacob's the one that pushed it forward because he grew up watching YouTube streamers and watching, you know, video game streamers and stuff like that. So he gets it. If it wasn't for him, I would have no idea how to market anything and stuff like that. So Jacob does a good job of clipping out things when we can. And he does a good job of like, hey, this'll bait some attention and this'll do whatever. So he does a really good job with that. And you're 100% correct, because if you're not getting anybody to care about you, like, let's put it this way. We opened the show. I didn't know that kid's name. You mentioned it. I was like, is that the kid with the cow head? I mean, just that stupid cow skeleton head did more for his like name notoriety than anything he'll do in the cage.
Exactly.
At least for now.
Yeah.
And it's like stuff like that matters. It just does. I don't need to remember his name to remember that's the cowhead kid. And then as long as he keeps that cowhead, he'll be fine with that. So, you know, you do have to market yourself. I suck at it on my end with the YouTube stuff.
I'm terrible.
But fighters, how else do you separate yourself from the pack? Otherwise, there's a million fighters, most of which are entertaining. So, like, how are you different?
Here's a good question for
money.
you, Johnny. It's a 47. I guess I could go either way. 47 Cody says, is a fighter who sells tickets more valuable to a promoter than a fighter who puts the product in the cage every time?
Yeah, so I'm going to look at this two different ways. We kind of have like I have Wes that is my data guy. He has every fighter, what they sell in tickets, views, pay-per-view buys, kind of stuff like that. I go to him and say, hey, what is this kid doing? What's he done? And then he gives me a list. So, like, when we're fighting in Amarillo, I have a list of guys that produce. They go in the registry, and then we look to match those guys. But then I also have guys like a Lawan Davis fighting March 22nd. Killer athlete, puts on great fights. I think his next fight after this, if he can get a win over Donovan Beard, he goes to UFC, Contender Series, whatever. I look at that. So, yeah, he gets shuffled a little bit back because he doesn't produce money right now. Like, he doesn't produce any money, but he's exciting, and so my thing is, if you are exciting, you got a better chance of being on the cards. But if you're somewhat exciting and sell a bunch of tickets, you're going to end up on the cards.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, that's the way a lot of the regional promotions do run things, and there's just a lot of factors in it nowadays. It's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, it's like any other sport or commodity. Sports only existed for 30 years. I mean, so it's like any other environment. It's growing with the times, and it's interesting because the fan base is relatively new as well. You have some diehards been watching forever. The majority of fans came along. Maybe there's a giant chunk in the Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell era, then a giant chunk in the COVID era. Everybody, thank God for all of them, because that's what's making the sport as big as it is. And but it is wild, because then you have people like Dave Weston in your YouTube chat who said your personality works. I question that. So this guy's sitting there in the middle of the day absorbing some free content and still had to throw some hate my way for no reason whatsoever. And that is the sport, and that is the reality that we live in nowadays. So it's an interesting demographic for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned the Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell era. I remember growing up, I was watching UFC pretty heavy. I was big into the sport then. Then I fell off for a little bit until Conor McGregor came around, and he seemed to kind of get it going and get it to the level it's at, or help with that anyway. Who do you see? Is there anybody that you see kind of taking the MMA to the next level? Anybody that's out right now?
That's tough. That's really tough, because you also don't know who's going to end up just being a superstar. It just randomly happens. Like Renato Moicano 2 years ago was a boring journeyman, straight up a boring journeyman. Then he's a couple of fluke wins away. The guy was 99% unconscious at UFC 300, and then an adrenaline dump wins him that fight. He catches a Benoit Saint-Denis kick, but he's got a couple of explosive post-fight interviews. All of a sudden wildly popular, and he earned it with his personality in his post-fight interview. So you don't know who's going to be the next superstar. Conor was like, just lightning in a bottle with his mouth, and people forget, like, he's a twitchy drug addict now, but people forget, like, Conor McGregor was a 2-division champion, the first ever to hold 2 belts at the same time. Like, he was good. He did not suck. So it is tricky, though. I don't know who will be the next big thing, because UFC keeps trying. They were going to do Peyton Talbot. He got smoked as a minus 1,200 favorite. So, you could say Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira is probably the biggest star the UFC has right now. He's 37. Yeah. And he might lose his next fight. So it's like, it's hard. I don't know who the next big thing is. And the UFC doesn't either. They just try to do what they can do, and hopefully something rises to the top.
I think they were hoping on Moicano, honestly.
It almost seemed like they were trying to go with Sean O'Malley there for a little bit. They were pushing him really hard and all that.
That was a dud. Sean O'Malley, you're right. They were trying to go that route. And then, somebody like Sean O'Malley's tough because he's so cringy. But if he's winning, it's like he's winning. He's going to, but then as soon as he loses, everybody piles. Like, it's like, this guy sucks, overrated, but everybody piles on. So Sean O'Malley needs to win his next fight to stay relevant. Otherwise, it's just like, there's the purple hair dude that won a fight once a couple years ago.
So a couple things here. Johnny Steele matching jiu-jitsu matches. Actually, Jax, reach. I mean, I'm a little behind on those. I'm more worried about the MMA stuff, just being honest, and the card's stacked, and I'm just keep adding more, but you just have to keep messaging me. I have a buddy that can't get fights because he's quiet, but I couldn't get out of a round if I were too hard spar, probably because he's a quiet guy and doesn't have a manager. That's tough. I mean, he just needs to blow up promotions, honestly, and be able to get in. Like I always say, if you want in, I'm going to need you at some point, but just be ready to jump in there, especially as an amateur. It doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't matter. Cody Williams says, you're trying to get on hard and you're not a ticket draw out of town, negotiate your money down. Be open to fight whoever they ask you. I mean, if you really want to fight, will be a hometown ticket draw. Just be okay with it. Someone says Ian Mercado Gary. I don't know.
He just lost in a boring fight too.
I know. I agree. It was shit. It sucked.
Shavkat could be a big deal potentially. Obviously, Islam is a big deal. So I mean, there's definitely some big guys, but Conor McGregor transcended the sport. Like, you could ask an old lady at the grocery store; she would know who Conor McGregor was.
That's facts.
Yeah.
Jimmy Jackson
Wiggins,
says,
send me a message on my Instagram and tell me who this is, because
Jimmy Jackson's saying Tom Aspinall could be one.
Tom Aspinall could be one.
He could be. He's got a great personality. He's winning fights flashy. He just needs to do a little bit more. Like, his personality is funny. He's not controversial, not whatever. So I feel like Tom Aspinall will be more of a loved fighter than he will be like a tremendous superstar, where Alex Pereira, literally just by being dead silent and knocking people out, became a tremendous superstar. So you don't know what'll work, but Tom Aspinall definitely has the skills and people love him. I mean, the guy's so likable.
Yeah, I want to watch him.
I wonder if he'll ever fight Jones, if him and Jones ever fight.
I don't think so.
Who knows? They were throwing around $30 million or something crazy for. Honestly, what I wanted, if I was in control of all that, I would have been like, listen, Tom Aspinall's young. He's going to be here for a while. John Jones is old. Alex Pereira is old. That's the fight. We need to do John Jones versus Alex Pereira. It would be the biggest fight you could possibly do. Nothing is remotely close. I don't care if people are going to cry about Ankalaev. That is the biggest fight that could exist on planet Earth right now. I would have done that. And then if Alex division champ in the history of time, and that will never happen again, I would have done that and then dealt with the fallout.
Yeah.
But, obviously that's not what's happening.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
And maybe they know something. I do like that's a great theory. I like that take on it, but it's I don't know if they'll do it.
Yeah, I don't think so. Honestly, I don't.
Well, they didn't.
He's already fighting in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So if he gets through Ankalaev, it's still
do.
on the table, but that's not an easy task.
No.
Yeah.
They don't give him many easy tasks.
No, short notice, whoever,
Yeah.
like it is, he just shows up and does what he does. That's why he's a fan favorite.
That's kind of the Brazilian thing, though. They kind of just get fucked. That's just kind of a thing for them. I mean, it sucks.
Corey the Don says, I like listening to this guy. He was the one that fought the cowhead kid that you were referring to.
He fought the cowhead kid.
He almost pulled that off. So we were there live, obviously. We vlogged it. Me, Jacob, a couple of our buddies. And he almost pulled that off. We're like, oh, shit. So that was a great fight. Good for him.
So that kid sells a lot of tickets. Both those
There you
kids
go.
sell a lot of tickets. They got their thing going. I don't know. I like it. I like those guys.
Yeah, I like them because they're amateurs, and Corey's an amateur. But if you notice that from his career, he never takes easy fights, and that's one thing we talk about a lot on here. That's very important for the amateurs because that's the time where you want to take those risky fights. You know what I'm saying? You want to get in there and take the hardest fights you can take possible. So when you are a pro, you've seen everything already.
Yeah.
Now, how hard would it be if they put we're talking to a sports book right now. They might take us on as a sponsorship, and then they'll do the lines on our fights. How tough would that be, do you think, for someone betting on those fights?
Betting on regional MMA must be the most impossible thing to bet on. Period. Who's going to cap them? Like who's going to set the lines? You? Which you're probably the only one that can.
Well, I guess they said they would. I don't know. It's early negotiations and talk, and I was like, yeah, how the fuck are you going to make the lines? But they're like, well, people make lines on these other shows that are on Fight Pass. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, here's a funny. Hold on one sec. Here's a funny line for you. This is Bet Online. This was the betting odds for me to become the UFC heavyweight champion of the world this year. So this ticket could still cash, and that's because somebody reached out to Bet Online, one of our viewers, and said, can you add Angelo Bodetti for the future heavyweight champion of the world? So they added me. They put me at plus 8,000 were the odds that I was added to the book as. And then people started betting on me just because they wanted the ticket. They wanted to do what I did, print the ticket and save it. And so then they changed the odds because a human sets it and then a computer adjusts it. The odds went down. I went down to plus 7,500. So at one point in time, a month ago, I had better odds to leave the year as the UFC heavyweight champion than Tai Tuivasa did. So setting the lines is the hard part. Once they're set, the computer will adjust it after that.
So they literally did that for a viewer?
A viewer live chatted like customer support with Bet Online and said, hey, I'd like to add Angelo Bodetti as the future heavyweight champion of the world because that's some of the props they were offering. And they said, okay, next day, boom, there it was, ready to go. And you could bet on it. They even locked it because money came in. Because people like probably $5, but money came in, so they locked it because whoa, this is bizarre line movement. So they locked it. They came back with even better odds. It was a funny.
That's crazy.
A funny little thing. But now I have this.
Energy Tammy sent you a green heart. Angelo, she probably thinks because you're Italian.
There we go.
Yeah.
Cody Williams says that's dope that you printed it.
It is.
Oh, 100%. Oh, 100%. That was
So how is your?
I bet on myself. I bet $13 because that's what they capped it at.
And you. So do the books know you pretty, or do these sites know you pretty well, or do they? Do you have any preference on sites or anything, or what?
They don't really know. Obviously, we have a couple of affiliate deals, so if people use our link, we'll get $1 or $2. They don't really know or care. UFC is still relatively small money for all these books. It's all about football, the other sports. UFC, I'm a big advocate for it. We met with BetUS yesterday about the new show that I'm filming with Josh, and basically we're like, hey guys, there's 52 weeks in a year. There's 44 UFC events. 44 UFC events in a year. Like that needs to be your tentpole product. There's no off season. It's always here.
Yeah.
So we don't have any pull. People have accused us of moving the line, meaning, Angelo, you put your video out on Sunday mornings. Your video will get 25,000 views. You pick this guy. A giant percentage of those people are going to go bet on it, and then the line's going to move. I completely disagree. Like, I don't think people know how much money is needed to move a line. Yeah. Like, it's not my pick that's moving a line, because I've been on the wrong side of a lot of line movement, where I pick somebody and the line goes the exact opposite direction. So, it's a new space still.
Yeah, it is a new space. We just need to get in the space, I think. That's our thing. I want our shit on the books. Fuck it. Because we have people ask all the time, especially at a casino. They're like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, dude, we don't do that.
Somebody's got to cap them. Like, somebody has to set the lines, and I don't, and maybe right? Maybe like if you reverse engineer it in like, okay, I think this person wins 50% of the time. Well, here's the line. I think they win 80% of the time. Here's the line. But you just got to set the original line. That's the hardest part.
You should tell him you'll do that. That'll be Angelo's gig. Line set.
I don't know enough about it. I'd be like minus 110 up and down the board. just let the public decide.
Dude, that would be kind of smart. Well, no, it couldn't be, because if it was a bad fight, they would get hosed, right?
You would have to cap it. So what a lot of the books do for that type stuff, like the bet on myself, they don't know that the probability is actually 0. They just know they put it up there and money came in, so they capped it. So the max bet was $13. So
okay, that's not bad. Yeah.
So
that
you
would make people
can
happy.
max bet. Yeah.
He said somebody has to cap them. Truer words have never been said.
Yeah.
Is he talking about what's his name or no?
Cody Williams.
Yeah. PFC 42 still mourning that you almost got to see the fight of a lifetime that night. The card remained great without the Wolverine, he's saying. But yeah, Jose, can't you see?
What up, EO?
Oh, EO. But yeah, I don't know. I think that would be cool. That would be awesome if you could get us on this. If we could get on Sportsbook with cap bets, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Oh, I could definitely do an introduction, get yourself on there, because there are regional shows on Bet Online, and BetUS has some regional shows for sure.
Let's get it.
Bet Openly as well. We do work with Bet Openly. What they're not a sports book. They're peer-to-peer betting. So it's instead of like if you go bet on DraftKings or Bet Online, some of that, you're betting against the house, against the casino.
Yeah.
Bet Openly is person to person. Like another human being is taking your money. You can throw it up there because there is no screw job. Like another human takes it. Like there's no, you know what I mean? Like there's no house to lose.
Pete could be on there.
I could get you in touch with Gino. That guy's awesome. Normal. He owns that company. I could do an email introduction. Say here's some regional MMA for you if you want to get that on there.
A lot of Italian names going around here in the
Gino Donato. Yeah, he's definitely.
Let me make sure I get this one right. Then. I don't be 0 for 2 here.
Screw job. She said screw job. Tammy's questioning screw job. That does not mean anything weird, Tammy.
No, I don't think his app is Bet Openly. He's asking if your app was called Bet Openly. He's We Want Picks.
We Want Picks. Yeah, Bet Openly is just a peer-to-peer betting company that exists.
So, Angelo, how does that work on Bet Openly? Is that something that you can do anywhere in the United States? Because I know I live in Arkansas, and I have a little bit of a hard time putting some bets in with like DraftKings and stuff like that. How does it work with Bet Openly?
Yeah, so it's not anywhere, but it's like 48 of the 50 states. Like it's almost everywhere. And that's because it's peer-to-peer. So you're not a casino, you're not a sports book. It's just all they do is facilitate between two different people. Person A, person B, they agree, and that's all they do.
Why didn't we think about this?
How does Bet Openly, how do they profit from it? Are they taking some off the top?
They take 1%. And they take 1% for the winnings. So if you won $100, you actually get 99. They keep $1 to keep the doors open.
That's insanity.
I'm sure they have ads on there too, huh?
And they pass I should charge Gino for this. And they pass the savings on. So and then I have to go right after this. But
Okay.
an even money bet on a sports book is -110, -110. So right off the rip, there's 20% profit built into that line on both sides, 10% on each side. What Bet Openly does, an even money bet, is +100, +100. It's dead even because they don't care who wins or loses. That's not the business they're in. They're just facilitating the money back and forth, and then they'll take 1% off whoever won. And that's how they'll make that's how they make it. So all they want is as many people as humanly possible using it.
Oh yeah, dude, we need to get on there and fuck that. Oh, we're dumb. We're dumb.
I'll send after this. I'll shoot you guys an email at Gino and say, hey, Gino. And
Gino,
then,
you're missing out, Gino. Gene Peace.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, Angelo said he's got to fucking get off here. He's done with your shit.
I have to film. I have another show. I'm getting texts like, are we ready yet?
Yeah, no,
So
I like it. So.
Yeah,
All
man.
right.
Let us know when it's up.
Angelo,
We'll check it out.
Yep. Check out We Want Picks, guys. He will help you make some money. He lies a little bit. He's saying he can't help you, but he will make you some money.
It's not financial advice, guys.
Okay.
So you will not retire off of random UFC bets, but you will have a great time and make a couple of bucks in the process.
Well, there you go, guys. We appreciate you as always. Check out We Want Picks, and we'll get him back on maybe at a later date to prove him wrong about Julius Walker.
Yeah. We'll circle back on Saturday night, see what happens.
Don't be sensitive, Angelo. Someone said.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
it.
Thank
Thanks,
you, man.
See ya.
See ya, dude. That was crazy, bro.
Yeah, bro. It was cool, man. I really enjoyed that. I don't do a whole lot of sports betting, so it was cool to get a little inside information on how this works. And I'm really interested in this Bet Openly thing he's talking about. I'm going to do some research on that because peer-to-peer betting seems to be easier route for me.
It is.
Maceo says, as the degenerate I am, do they have an app?
I don't know, Masio. We'll figure it out. We'll get it to you. We'll figure it out. We're gonna figure all this out. But yeah, man, great time with him. You know, we need to get some fighters on here. Yes, ma'am. That is just for gambling advice. I mean, not gambling picks. They kind of help you pick the fights for the weekend. If you check them out on YouTube or their website, they can give you some valuable information.
And you do what you want with it, right? Like you said, it's not financial advice. They break down the fighters. They talk about who they think that they're gonna, who they think you should pick, but they're not telling you to do this. So it's pretty cool. If you're a betting man, betting woman, check out We Want Picks. They're awesome. They were at our Frisco show. They were vlogging it. So. I'm glad we finally got to do some work with him, and I hope we have him back on here. I'm interested to see what happens Saturday night. You know, like you said, we'll circle back to that and see what Mr. Julius Walker can pull off.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
dude, I'm pumped, bro. That's kind of cool, dude. So you can just bet against people.
Yeah, bro. Corey DeDon says Bet Openly sounds fire. And then Wiggins is asking Corey and Cody Williams when their next fights are. Let me see if I got anything. I like this YouTube thing here, man.
Yeah, I do too. It's a lot better.
Steve LeCounte says, great chat with Angelo. Glad he was in there. Billy the Preacher Digging Graves says, sounds interesting. So, I mean, we may be onto something here with this Bet Openly thing. I like it because there's already, that I know of, there's already a lot of people that bet on these peak fights. You know, when we're at the fights, I hear people talking about placing bets and who they're betting on. Amongst themselves, right? But what better way to do it than bring it into the app, right? So it's official, it's out there, and then we can put like betting odds up and stuff like that.
It's smart as heck.
Yeah, it's cool, bro. It really is.
Looks like they do a lot of crazy stuff.
I am Cody Williams says, I mean, I got some stuff in May working, but I'm trying to book April or March ASAP. Texas Yeti's in here. What up, Yeti? Energy Tammy says, I don't want to hear it about YouTube versus Instagram.
Oh, God.
We were on both. We're simulcasting right now. We're hitting like 4 different locations.
That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. That's a lot of shit, dude.
Yeah, man. I'm ready to get some fighters in here. I hope everybody enjoyed the new format that we did, bringing in our guests at the same time and being able to – it just seemed a lot easier that way than trying to switch back and forth.
No, for sure. It was awesome.
It looks
good.
It.
Yep. We'll schedule. What do we got, Luis? We got today.
We got Friday. Something for Friday.
Yeah, so
I think we should bring in someone. Let's see what the chat thinks. Anybody in the chat, who do you want to see on here for a fighter? What kind of fighter would you like to see on here? Preferably somebody on the March 22nd card because, you know, I like to promote the fights as many ways as possible. So what better way than to bring in a fighter off the PFC 43 card?
Yeah, that's smart.
He says, listen to Wiggins.
Book him up. Okay, Wiggins, I got you, bro. Tammy Blue sending us heartburn emojis again.
Billy Gray says, smart business move, Johnny Cowboy up.
No, it's smart.
He said, well, I'm out then, I guess.
What? I'm a fucking weirdo. He's rattled. But yeah, dude, I think that's awesome. We want picks. Awesome shit. Making shit happen.
Maceo says, you already know who I want on that biatch.
Maceo loves it.
Yeah,
loves
bro.
it. So.
Or just book me March 22nd, bring me on the stream, and I'll drop the info, he says.
Okay. All right. We'll work on that. Next card is in March 22nd at the Grand Casino in Shawnee, Oklahoma. Man, you can go do whatever. I'm going to ask about their sports book if we're going to get on there. If they can cap the bets.
It'd be cool, man. If not, I'm just going to be spending my free time at the roulette table. I think I got a little system worked out there. So
for sure.
June 28th is my pro debut, says Billy the Preacher.
That's smart.
Matt Woods says get some new guys on so we can get to know them better.
We should just do like a roulette of them. Or is it hard?
We can put their name on the wheel and pick.
Is it hard to like get them in and out?
As long as they can join the meet, like the Google or Zoom, whichever way we decide to go, it's not that hard. It's just getting them in there. Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's crazy. Good idea.
Wiggins, we do.
I would like to see, obviously, Lawan Davis. Talk to him a little bit.
Yeah.
Talk to Don. He's always funny. He got some clever stuff to say. But then I would like to bring in some of the new guys. You got Britton. We got Nico Macias and his opponent, Tyler Jones. Tyler Jones seems to have a lot of social media following right now. Funky Bones. Who else do we got on the card that's new?
Funky Bones would be cool to add.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me check the card real quick. Let's see who else we could potentially bring in. Ethan Moore, Dwayne Amoya. Both of those guys have fought with us before. We just dropped today Jacorian Larry, and I'm going to butcher his last name, Durojai. Durojai, do you know how to pronounce his last name?
I do not, but we can get him on here.
Yeah, him and Larry.
Shags. I just call him Shags.
Shags, yeah, that's his IG handle. We got Chelsea Bennett, Jamie Jefferson, Mohammed Al-Shamsi, and Abbas Moonshed. Man, this card's crazy. We got 6 or 7 titles on the line, which in its own is a crazy statement. Just saying that out loud sounded wild, but Colton Curry, he's back. I mean, we got some interesting people on this card, man. It's gonna be crazy. Billy Pritchard, Digging Grave says it's easy. Maybe I'll go. If y'all had amateur bouts, I would fight so I can watch the main card for free.
We do have amateur bouts.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yes,
we have amateur bouts. So
7 titles, Cody. That is crazy. It's gonna be wild. What up, Larry? Larry just joined. What's you working on?
I'm just talking. talking. I'm just texting.
Well, you got anything else?
No, I don't. I think I'm done. I think I'm ready to go. We try my openly picks.
Yeah, I'm gonna make an account, check it out, see how that goes. Definitely hit up Gino, get the PFC on there, and people can hopefully bet soon on peak fighting fights. You can put your picks. What's up, Larry? Get Cody as a backup, someone bound to pull out. The poster warriors, like you're saying. Yeah, for sure, man.
That's fucked up.
There are some poster warriors, though. I like that term. I'm going to steal that.
It is funny. Get Cody as a backup, someone bound to pull out. Who is this? Is he your brother?
It's his alt account. No, I'm just kidding. Cody Williams does stay ready, though. You got to, bro. Especially with Peak, you never know when you're going to get the call. How many guys have we called? I'm sure you have a handful of guys, like 5 guys, or probably one in each weight class that you can call at any time, and they'll take a fight.
It's weird.
It's weird. It's not trademarked. Well, it's about to be. That's funny. Yeah,
But,
Cody
yeah.
stays ready, bro.
Wiggins, get us on there.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for these fights. I'm ready to see what happens with the betting odds and all that. And I'm also ready for Juice Box's fight coming up this Saturday in Seattle. So I'm going to go against Angelo's expertise, and I'm going to pull for Julius on this. And it may be an emotional decision, but so be it. I'm always rooting for our guys anytime they're in the UFC. So going for him. He says me at 185. Jacorian Larry says me at 185.
Let's
yeah,
go.
he's the guy.
Yeah.
Stay ready, bro. You got to stay ready. Nothing on Facebook. Let's see. YouTube, man, I love this. I love this YouTube integrated into our stream. You ready to roll out, man?
I'm just typing, buddy. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's pop this Coke stand, and we got Friday to go. It's snowing. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, we're going to get back on here Friday. Let us know who you like to see in here. We'll do an interview with next, chat it up with some of the fighters. We could get Cowhead in here. We can get any. I love how he calls him Cowhead Kid.
Let's go. Who said that? That Cowhead?
No,
Cowhead?
Angelo was calling him that. I thought that was great. But yeah, man, if you don't got anything else, we can hop up out of here, be back on Friday. Maybe we could do a ticket giveaway or something like that. We'll see what we can do. We got some interesting stuff coming out, some ticket giveaways, and some stuff with some partners we'll be doing pretty soon. So keep your eyes peeled on social media for that.
Yeah, big drops coming. Luis dropping nukes. We got some big fight announcements coming for Amarillo also. We've already announced one, but we got some big announcements coming up.
I'm ready, bro. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. All right, guys. We'll see you guys in an hour.
Yeah.
No, we won't.
No, we'll see you Friday, though. See
All right,
you.
guys. Peace.